Patrick Willis. That's all I'm going to say. I'm serious. Patrick Willis, one of the greatest to ever do it. Hall of Famer, Patrick Willis. Ole Miss superstar, Patrick Willis. 49er, Patrick Willis is on our show, and he is going to inspire you with stories of testimonies, trials, setbacks, the wisdom he's gleaned since retiring from the NFL, the things he's done because he's aspiring higher every day. I'm telling you, if you're a business leader or just a fan, watch this episode, but do me the favor, subscribe, like, share, and just so you know, I put on my Hall of Fame coat because we got one of the best to ever do it on our show. Welcome back to Aspire Higher with Charles and Yvana. We are so grateful and honored to be with one of our greatest friends, man. This guy and I go way back. I can't even believe that it's been 20 years. It's ridiculous. Patrick Willis, Hall of Famer, 49er, Ole Miss, hottie toddy, land shark, hit or die, the best in the business. I'm telling you, I can't wait for you guys, if you hadn't before, to meet my friend, Patrick. What's up, Patrick?
What an introduction, man. You know, I was always a big fan of watching wrestling growing up, and to get an introduction like that, you know, it felt pretty similar. But no, truly honored to be on the Aspire Higher podcast with you all. And like you said, it's been a long time since we've known each other, and finally glad we get a chance to catch up.
Yeah, man. Well, you know, the last time we saw you, it was a year and some change. We were speaking at an event together.
Yes.
And I mean, it was like as soon as we saw each other, couldn't believe we were running to each other again, man. I'm getting emotional a little bit, man. I mean, you're a great dude, and I'm just so glad that we've stayed in touch all these years. Like since we were kids, bro.
That's crazy.
Kids.
Yeah, pretty much, man. I mean, 18?
Yeah.
Like young, pretty much. I know, you know, when you're a young kid, you say like, no, turn 18, you're grown. But when you get a little bit older and you look back, you like mentally like, man, we were still just babies and kids, you know, in the world. So
that's right, man. You know, there's a funny story because I always laugh. First of all, just to make sure I say it again for anyone who doesn't remember me saying it the first time, we graduated from one of the greatest institutions in the history of education. Ole Miss.
Okay.
We don't even say the University of Mississippi. We just say Ole Miss. Okay, I'm sorry. Did I say Ole Miss already, Patrick?
You said it 8
anyway, so here's the funny story, though. I'll never forget, and I brought this up to him last time we saw each other. I remember he used to make fun of us because I ran track. You know, obviously, anyone who's watching. And we would come off of the track, and we're cramping. Our body's hurting. We're going to the trainers. This man and his friends, they're chilling in the cold tub. And we're looking at them like, do you guys actually work? Because we were cramping, we're dying. Y'all look like y'all having the time of y'all life over there, man. He's over there just chilling in the cold tub.
He was chilling.
No, that's because we already got a little bit of work in before you guys.
Right.
A little bit of work in, but no, seriously,
hours.
man.
I mean, all those hours y'all put in football?
Yeah, no,
come on. You got to give him credit.
No, we got to give him credit.
And then he became a legend. He was cooling off early so that he could be on fire later.
Well, let's put
I got
it
your
this
back,
way.
Patrick, okay?
We were running, but we weren't running to hit anybody or to get hit.
Come on. Football is one of the hardest sports ever.
Yeah, sure.
Ever.
Yeah, man. Speaking of that, tell us about a little bit of your memories, man. Talk about Ole Miss football, if you don't mind. Just take us back in history. And if you want to, you could take us back even further. How did Patrick Willis become Patrick Willis?
Well, first of all, I would like to say, man, what a journey just to get to Ole Miss. When I was coming out of high school, I really wanted to go to the University of Tennessee, the Tennessee Vols. You know, being from Tennessee, you know, the Vols was America's college team to me. Unfortunately, they told me they was not interested in me on an unofficial visit after my third time there. And I remember just how tough it was, but I remember on the way to the house, you know, just talking to my coach at the time. And he said, you know, why don't you go to a school and play against them. And at the time, I was like, man, I'm not sure what school is even interested, because I was a 3-star coming out of high school, so not very many schools were interested. And out of nowhere, Ole Miss pops up, and man, I oftentimes, I've said it before and I said it again, if I could do it all over again, I would go back to Ole Miss. And so just me ending up at Ole Miss was I call it, it was God's doing. And if I had to do it all over again, I would go back to Ole Miss again. I really enjoyed my time at Ole Miss.
Yeah, man. It's amazing. And, there's stories. I know that you can go as far as you like, but you went through some things early on. And please, by all means, share only what you're willing to. Mm-hmm. But people don't know, Patrick, the man that you were before you even became the man that you are. Mm. Life forced you to have to grow up really fast. Do you mind sharing even just a piece of that?
Yeah. I will. It's something that has been, I've spoken on before. It's been documented a little bit. Everything you see is not everything to it. Some of it is little extras. Some of it is, right on. But all in all, it's merit, merit to my truth, to my story. And, growing up, I can't say that I had the best. Obviously, now you're older, you look back and you see things a little different than, you kind of understood them as a kid. But nevertheless, I still had my circumstances like others.
Sure.
And at 17, my siblings and I were put in foster care, and that it was a tough moment. With that being said, was very fortunate, very fortunate how things kind of worked out. And
sure.
Man, as I look back on it, I think as I look back on it, I think I had every reason to, want to just, throw in the towel. But then at the same time, as I look at it, I always look at, even in the negative, there's always positive, and the positive and what I needed to do outweighed everything that was going on. So yeah, it was pretty tough growing up, but went into foster care at 17, and from there just managed and had good group of people around to help me navigate, and just very fortunate.
Yeah, man. Very good. Man, I appreciate you sharing that by all means. So let's go back then to the best time you ever had in Ole Miss. Is there a memory that stands out more than any other memory in your career as a college athlete that you want to talk about real quick?
I would have to say it would be two stories. One in particular would be the admiration I have for other sports. I know you guys
come on now.
Let off the story. No, bro, we let off the story with, you guys, being on the track field and doing the work that you all did. Yeah. And I was a big fan of that because at my school, I only had 3 sports. I only had football, baseball, and basketball. And that was it. So no track. And I feel like if we'd have had track, more people from my school, from my small town, would have had an opportunity to go to school. So it was being just a big fan of, being around other elite athletes such as you all, like, especially on the track field, when I would see you all run, how you moved, I'm like, man, that make it look so effortless. And for me to have to build and work on the speed I had, it was pretty tough. So just seeing you all from, the track, and then going into, I don't know if you all ever remember going into, I forget what the gym was back then. It was
the Turner Center?
Yeah,
that's what it used to be called.
And all them basketball players in there. Yeah, the Turner Center, and they were all them basketball players in there playing basketball. And we had some guys on the football team that I didn't know they could ball like that. And I felt I was an athlete, so I thought me playing football was just my route to, get in school and get my college paid for and everything. And obviously I wanted to go play, higher level, but I thought, like, man, I was just as good in basketball. So I thought, and I remember going in there and playing basketball in the Turner Center. And I just remember saying to myself, like,
I'm gonna stick to football.
Like, that was so just yeah. I said I'm gonna stick most definitely. So I'm gonna stick to ball. So just having that moment was one, and then probably the other time would be the first time I went to my crawfish. Went to a fraternity crawfish broil in the springtime after spring ball was over.
Wow!
And that was the first time I'd ever seen that much crawfish, and And I was looking like, man, y'all gonna eat this? And I'd always say it from afar, like, growing up my small town, like I ate a lot of things,
Never
but
ate
that was one of them
That's
that I wasn't privy to. And I was like, nah, ain't no way I'm gonna eat that. And so my first time ever going to one of those, and just how cool that
That's
was.
Amazing, man.
I mean, there's plenty more stories, but yeah,
I
those
love
two
it,
for
man.
sure. What about you all? What did you all ever try crawfish when y'all was in school? Did y'all any of that, or y'all was like, nah, that's not really
Patrick,
my thing?
if I tried crawfish as a girl, I'd be dead. I'm allergic.
You're allergic to all seafood, bro.
Absolutely
really?
allergic. Okay, so maybe
Seafood
Charles can
and
answer that.
nuts. Man, she can't handle it. I don't like it because for me, I was always concerned when people would say, there was the process to eating crawfish, first of all, right?
Clearly.
So the breaking off of the head and then eating the meat and then sucking the brains out, like that to me that wasn't really appealing. And then I remember, I'll never forget this. When you look at crawfish and you pull the tail out, there's a streak in there. And they say that's the poop streak.
Yeah.
So people just eating it like it's seasoning. I'm like, that is not seasoning.
But it's how you season it.
Yeah.
Isn't it like this bright red orange, right?
Yeah, well, it's a
different.
whole pot that you boil it and the crawfish get, Anyway, no.
That's Southern stuff,
Yeah,
man.
I couldn't fall in love with it, man.
It's different.
But there's another story I got to bring up, bro, because there's two actually. Since you had two, I got two. One, I was there when you did this. When you had that hit. And LSU, we call the hit, where you picked up 25 off his feet, slammed him WWE style, then flipped over his body and got up and flexed.
No.
I was there when it happened.
Stop it.
Bro,
So cool.
One of the coldest hits you'll ever see. Dude thought he was going up the middle. And when I tell you something, Patrick, the hole they created for this dude was as big as our state.
Jeez.
And right up the middle comes Patrick.
Yeah.
It was almost like nobody wanted to touch you. They're like, man, go ahead. You just go ahead and hit him. He lifted this dude up so hard, lifted him all the way off the ground. Like man. Bam!
Wow.
Craziest thing I'd ever seen, man.
Yeah.
But the other thing, and this is also what made you a legend, and you're really a trendsetter, bro, because when you played, you remember when you broke your hand? This man had to wear a club on his hand.
No way.
He was one of the
Even
first.
our producer remembers it.
He's standing up clapping. You can't even see him. He's literally clapping right now because he remembers. But dude had this big white club on his hand.
He was showing the club. He remembers that.
And he literally had one hand that functioned, the other one was closed up, and Patrick was dominating people with that club on his hand. Now you see other schools and teams using it all the time. But up until that point, that was the first time a man had said, yo, I'm going in with a broken hand and all, still going to knock him out.
How? Just walk us through that real quick. Go ahead.
Yeah.
How?
Just truthfully, Yvonne, it was I was on a mission. I was on a mission, and nothing, I felt like nothing was going to stop me from, one, getting to that next level, which was, getting to the NFL and ultimately, trying to be the very best I could be. But it was, remember I told you all earlier that Tennessee, I really wanted, all that came about because the week that we were playing Tennessee, prior to playing Tennessee my junior year, we played Vanderbilt 2 games before that, and I actually broke his middle finger.
Yeah.
And not only did I break the middle finger, but before that I sprained my MCL. So in the same game in Vanderbilt, I sprained my MCL and I broke my middle finger.
Gotcha.
So I had to have surgery. A week later or whatnot, and then 2 weeks coming up, we have Tennessee. And mind you, when you have a MCL, which is a ligament, a sprain in the knee, so not the ACL, but the one where it puts you out for a long time, but I forget the grade, they call it like a grade sprain in the knee. It usually takes about 6 weeks or so or something like that to get to feeling good. Then you can start putting pressure and stuff on it. And so real true story, we was playing Tennessee 2 weeks later. And I was like, there's no way. There's no way this is my last time to play Tennessee.
You have to show up.
I said, I said, there's no way you all done told me that, a long time ago that, you didn't want me and this is my opportunity. I played against them the year before, but I only had like 5 tackles. Yeah. So I was like, and so just that game, the trainer said, let's test out your knee and see how it is. I said, but what, your middle finger? I said, you know what, man, we're going to have to find a way to put something on it. And so we just the trainers worked with me, and we had a big old brace on my left knee. I went out there and warmed up, and I'm sharing with you all. I probably, you all know that being athletes, that sometimes a lot of times you don't always feel your absolute best, but you still got to perform.
Yeah, and that's athletics.
You
never feel your absolute best.
Yeah. And so that game, I went in and they said, "How you feeling?" And I shouldn't have played, but I was like, "There's no way I was not going to." And so we wrapped it all up. It was huge. We call it the Q-tip, but it kind of reminded me of a.
It does look like a big Q-tip.
A club. Yeah. And so we just call it the club to make it more aesthetic. We're gonna wear the club, and went out there and had I think it was 16 tackles.
One of the
total,
best games you ever had. We ended up losing. No way ever.
And
I'm telling you, man. I mean, this is the
that's
dude.
Passion and fuel for you, my God,
bro. And if you're listening, audience, I just want to encourage you. Sometimes in life, and this is a great point to make, you're not going to always feel your best.
Absolutely.
You're not always going to feel like everything is moving the way it should. Yeah. But the one thing you got to be determined to do is keep moving anyway.
That's right.
In our book, we talk about dare to defy. Mm-hmm. If there are odds to be defied, you got to be daring enough to do it. Mm-hmm. You got to do it despite how you feel, what other people say, what you even think, and you have to set a positive expectation. I love how Patrick just talked about that tenacity and audacity. Literally, that is audacious. That's saying, I don't care what's in front of me, but what is in front of me, I'm about to take its head off. And boy, did he. Yeah. And think about it, if you hadn't have played that game, because that game, again, you had great games, but that was one that really put you on the map for your ferocity. Like, people saw how much of a beast you were. Wow. Because you were that dedicated. At least you didn't have to do Ronnie Lott, though. You didn't cut your finger off, though, man.
What?
Yeah, Ronnie Lott broke his finger in the game. Cut that joker right off. And played.
Yeah.
So I don't even want surgery. Cut it off.
This is why athletes are the best. You hear me?
Now, some of people listen, they're like, well, this is also why athletes are crazy.
Absolutely.
But this is also why we get things done. That's true, too, though.
The top recruits in any business, athletes. They look for athletes in recruitment. So during that game, like, what was your mindset? What was your processing? Like, that's insane. Insane.
Truthfully, it was one of determination, but it was driven by the vision that I had already had. Because again, but the higher destination was to ultimately get to the NFL, and every opportunity to play a game, regardless of who it's against, you want to play your very best for this audition. But playing against, being in Tennessee, having a little personal vendetta, it just made for the perfect, perfect circumstances, the perfect moment. And like I said, just working with so much, I call it it's something that goes beyond just, like I said, something that goes beyond just feeling good. It's having that vision, and that vision was always higher than just the moment in front of me. But the moment in front of me, you had to take care of it and put forth your very best.
Come on.
And so that's where a lot of drive comes from. Sometimes it's kind of hard to speak in X and O's. Sometimes when people are asking,
I don't know.
I wish it would just say I saw the guard block, But now it was, man, just having the mindset of it's so much bigger than this moment, but right now is the greatest moment. So how can I?
You said something, vision for the audition. I don't think a lot of athletes see games as auditions.
Sure. I don't think business people see their life as constantly auditioning.
That's beautiful. Like, that mindset right there.
Yeah.
Vision for the audition.
Absolutely.
First of all, visualization takes mental prep work.
Sure.
So you're in the game, or even before the game, you're visualizing, this is Vanderbilt. Yeah. This is the school that didn't want me, that rejected me. Now I've got to walk through adversity and physical ailment and injury to prove not only do I belong, but you're going to be mad that you missed out on my life and my opportunity to shine.
And they were supposed to miss
Come on.
They were supposed to miss out on you, because there was a purpose for you that you don't even realize and you didn't realize then. But I want to say 3 things that I think will be really important for all of us. One thing, Patrick, is when you started this show, you were talking about what you walked through, and you were very polite in how you talked about it because you went through some very challenging times that only people who are close to you really know. But for you to have walked through them, you had a strong why, a real reason for why you had to make it.
That's right.
It wasn't just Patrick Willis wanted to go to the NFL. You were carrying everything and everyone on your heart, your mind, your soul. You willed yourself. Patrick Willis, you willed yourself there. But then here's what's really dope, bro. And I talk about this in one of my keynotes when I speak to athletes and leaders in the world. It's not just enough to know your why. Patrick, everything you said was also why not now?
Right.
The people who get it don't just have a good why, because I can know why I should do it.
That's right.
But you made every day, you were like, I'm deciding that today is the day.
Right.
I'm winning today. I'm going to the NFL today. Even though it took years to get there, you had already decided that it was going to happen. At the very least, if you had the chance, you were going to make sure you gave yourself the best opportunity.
Wow.
But then the last thing, and I hope that you get this when I say this if you're listening, because it should inspire you to the core. The one thing about Patrick that I know for sure, just like what I know about myself, I came from Mississippi, from a small town in Mississippi, and my best friend often tells me the best thing you ever did was you took enough courage to get yourself out of there. And you have to answer this question as well. Why not me? It could be anybody. Yeah. It could have been anybody. Yeah. But Patrick decided that it was going to be him.
Come on.
And when you answer those three questions and you're able to say that I know for a fact that I'm dedicated to it because I know those three things, there is nothing in this world that'll stop you. Yeah. The problem is that most times you don't get to a point to answering those questions and they don't mean enough to get to a point where you're willing to do whatever it takes to get yourself there. Patrick, I'm proud of you, boy.
Yeah.
Like I said, that right there is a big message, and you lived it.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. When I think back over things now, I'd say depending on maybe our circumstances or our situations, like maybe that drives a lot of us to. Yeah, that drives a lot of us to why we do a lot of what we do. And sometimes, and I know for me, mine was a little bit bigger than myself. And that really helped because sometimes, matter of fact, I'm going to see my nieces tonight, some of them, a couple of them, and they have a music recital.
Look at this.
And as I'm looking at them now at this age that they're at, I smile because as we look back over life, the biggest thing that we sometimes have is that moments of regret or did I do enough? Did I do what I set out to do? You have this thing like, am I fulfilling? Just all these different things that come across your mind, at least for me. And one of the driving forces or one of the driving factors for me when I was growing up was I wanted to be one of those people, but one of those, uncles and or parents someday that when I'm looking at them, there can be no, I don't want it to be any excuses. I wanted to be able to look at them and say that, you too can be the great that you choose to be and whatever that is. But I felt like I had to go do that for myself first. Now, it's subjective and all matters, but as I'm going to see them tonight in their element, it makes me smile to see that, to know that when I think about myself personally, like I feel like, man, I feel decent, but more than that, I know that they've been able to see some of those moments and have moments where they're like, Uncle Patrick, all the people are here to see you, and I get to look at them and say, yeah, but we're here to, we get to be here to see you, buddy. We get to be here tonight and see you be awesome. And so yeah, just man, there's so much stuff that goes through my mind. But yeah, just is having that something that's a little bit bigger than yourself really helps to drive.
That's right. Patrick, you are one of the most decorated athletes all time.
Yeah, that's right.
Going from where you started to where you are now in life is so commendable, and we honor that you. I want to ask you, when you pivoted into the NFL, Did you still feel fulfilled even though you're at one of the highest levels most athletes will never even see, touch, or be in?
You know, it was a phase. I knew that
Mm.
I knew that the NFL was not the end all be all game.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with that being said, getting in it, you know, it can be really it can be tough in the sense
Yes.
of I don't know what I'm looking for, but yes, for a moment, it did. It had a sense of fulfillment. But then I remember when I began to feel that it was somewhat no longer sustaining
Come on.
that that part of me that it once did, and that's when I began to be like, man, I can feel a change, and it was something
Mm-hmm.
that you couldn't really talk about out loud to others around you because for them, like, man, that high is seeing you play in the NFL, you know,
Yeah.
because they wish they could have done it, and respectful to their thoughts and everything, but it was something that I was beginning to feel that was to your to your question.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was for a moment, but then I began to have that feeling of feeling like, man, I can feel something changing, and it
Shifting.
was
Yes.
and it was and I it wasn't a bad thing. It was just it was something that I had kind of always knew it would come in its time. It just when
Mm-hmm.
it began to show its face, it was almost like, man, is it time already? Like, is it has it went by that
Yeah.
fast? Like it's only been, you know,
That's
but
right.
yet I kind of yeah, I felt it. So it went through a phase to where it was, and then when it was no longer anymore in the same way in which it had before.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's a beauty in that because I know you, and to designate your life to God, number one, He will always show you steps, right? And He'll always show you the season in those steps as well. So when you got to the NFL, everyone's thinking like this is the pinnacle and you're going to be riding this high forever. I mean, because it's huge,
Yeah.
huge accomplishment.
Sure.
But the athlete, the human side of there's always a time limit. And then the indicator was the shift. When that shift happens in athletes, it's something to be very sensitive to because you have to say, okay, I'm here,
Yeah.
but is this my purpose? Is this exactly what I'm meant to do for long?
Yeah.
What kind of momentum am I going to continue to have
Sure.
while I'm on this high platform? And some people start writing their story
That's right.
during the professional
That's
career.
right.
Some
That's
people
right.
start creating organizations and being a part
Yeah.
of bigger things. But that question right there, and what is this shift? Why am I sensing this? That is always an indicator of a voice that is meant for greater.
That's right.
It's like, okay, so what's next? What greater is in me that's next? Because it ends. And how did you feel when the NFL ended?
You know, it was, if I could contextualize, man, it would, the only thing I had known then from my experience was it felt like a part of me was dying or had died, and the only thing I could kind of revert it back to was, you know, growing up in the South, I was raised in the church real heavy. My
Oh yeah.
grandmother, you know, that was one thing that she was always gonna have us, you know, always in that church. And along the way, you know, I paid attention and learned you know, I learned a little bit, you know, remembered a little bit, learned a little bit, and there was some principles that, you know, whether you choose to believe
Yeah.
whatever it is you believe that, you know, I somewhat kind of held on to, or that was kind of always like kind of within. And when I started going through that moment, I began to feel a little bit of that going on to where I was like, man, I feel like this is, you know, a moment like Jesus had, you know, and when, you know, he was about to, you know, be taken away. And it was like all these things I was feeling, all these,
Right.
I could align them. And I was like, and so as I was feeling it, it didn't make it, you know, that I ain't gonna say it made it easier, but it was, I could understand. It was like, but yeah, I could understand it. To I can understand it enough to say, you know what, this is a moment to where my faith is being tested heavier than ever. And if I believe as
Tested.
I say I really believe, then I must, adhere to what it is that I'm feeling eternally, because
That's right.
what was happening or what was going on before was no longer doing anything for me. So therefore I know that whatever this is, like it's something more. So I say all to say it was tough,
Yeah.
but it was understandable. Like sometimes when we lose a loved one, you want to be mad, you want to be angry, you want to say
Yes.
like, God, not now, but
Yes.
but then
Yes.
just in the next breath, we will say, God, whatever it is, your will, let it be
Right.
done. And so you
Yeah.
get kind of conflicted, but overall, I just try to go back and revert to some of the teachings and some of the things I've learned growing up. So to help navigate. But yeah, it was a little tough, and the transition has not been I call it 100% just smooth sailing
Of
and
course.
all of the above, but
Of course.
it's been well,
Mm.
so.
Oh, wow. Well, bro, it's incredible just listening to you. And one thing that I can tell you that I love more than anything else, and I think most people don't know this about you, is one, how well spoken you
Oh
are.
yeah.
And I mean that from the greatest respects,
Yeah.
because you're a student of life.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I know about you. You read, but you learn, and you have this self-awareness, this ability to see within yourself and then still keep your eyes on the reality of life. You've never lost touch. I mean, because you are a superstar by all respects and all rights, but you're so much more than that. You're a genuine human being who's genuinely and authentically living through your beingness. And that's one of the things I think that made us all connect so well, is because there's this gentleness and this purity and this peace about you. There's a there's a humility. That's right. That's a perfect word for you. That many people should really pause and respect you for, because you've done that work. Now, would you say that that was always you, even when you were playing in the NFL? Because I knew you personally, but do you think that this was something that developed more after you got
Yeah.
out, when you started to see it separate from you?
Great question, Charles. That's I was just thinking as I was explaining, as I was sharing, a little bit of my story just then, or just sharing a little bit with y'all. I was wondering, like, man, as you all being athletes, and what I've learned is that it happens to us at different times or at different facets. For some of my friends in high school, maybe it happened to them. Well, for some of my friends in high school that didn't go to college, or yeah, they didn't go to college, maybe this phase happened for them, earlier on than it happened for me, or some of the guys who maybe only had a year of ball, maybe it happened because I remember hearing different stories of different people going through their different phases. So I was curious, man, did you guys ever feel a moment like that as well? But to your question, uh, yes, a lot really came after I played. I always had these, when you plan, you always have these questions as well, or these, I call me just internal questions about things. And though I understood that football was my job, I always thought about other stuff, like stuff. If you would have been like, man, what are you thinking about how this was made, and we out here playing football? I'm like, I don't know why my mind is, wondering like, how all this get put together or whatnot. But so just like you were saying, like it was football was my life for a brief moment, but as it was my life, it was I always like was thinking about other things outside of it. But I know when I retired, it really allowed me the fortitude, given different circumstances and situations, to explore a lot more, so that I'm able to be in this moment to where I can share and express a little bit better than maybe I could before. And so yeah, it's been growth, and I've been growing for sure. I wish I could say I had all this down at the very beginning and everything, but I will say that whatever is in you, it's in there, and it's only a matter of time that it's brought out through your
Ooh,
circumstances and
come on.
situations. So
That's right.
I say what I am today, it was always in there, but I've just had to continue to learn, and through the circumstances tweak, and like a
Right.
equalizer, to
Right.
say the least. So So yeah, and I know I just said a lot.
No, dude,
No,
it's
it's
still
perfect.
beautiful, and you said something
So,
profound in there. I love it.
And even in life, being retired, in life after sport, the revelation that you had in the discovery phase of life is everything.
Sure.
A lot of people will fall victim to holding on to their identity so tightly in athletics that they're always living in the past. They're not even absorbing the present and forget the future, you know? But when you started exploring life, when things started becoming new to you or awakened in you, because if it was already there, those seeds were already there, it was just a matter of time and position with placement to where it was going to be revealed even more. So what was your biggest discovery moment in life outside of athletics?
Ooh.
I know.
You know, I truthfully, it's been 9 years since I've been retired, and I told myself that I would give myself the same amount of time that I played, the same grace. I would give myself that amount of time to just kind of learn myself or hear myself or just something that I felt like I hadn't known before. Like I had always tried to get to this place because for me, I was like, man, I just want to be free. Like I always felt like I was working to be free. And
Interesting.
truthfully, when I retired, I learned a little while after that there was different types of freedom.
Come on.
Talk about it.
And there is what you call like this mental freedom and this physical freedom. And I had to learn to reprogram and program. And I still, to this day, still working on what that is and how that looks like from day to day, from time to time, given my circumstances. Some people, it could be a little different, especially if you have kids or different dynamics. But I kind of was going off shift with it.
That's okay.
No, it's all right. It's all right. It's all right.
It's completely fine, man. But I want to say something that you did say, and I think it'll bring your thoughts back.
Yes, please.
Because you were talking about giving yourself grace and time to find yourself again, to rediscover. But you said some profound things, regardless to whether you knew it or not.
Right.
One thing you said is that you were trying to reprogram some things. And I tell people this, and in fact, we wrote this in our book. You're an athlete, and maybe you're a business leader. You have your own customs, traditions. Maybe you have your own processes, right? But those things are just programs. Yeah. And just like a incredible athlete, like a Patrick Willis, maybe what you're a victim of is your own practice making programmed. Because you've programmed yourself to see yourself a certain way, to speak a certain way, to think a certain way about yourself. That's right. But the thing about practice is, and you probably heard this before, how many times have you heard it? Practice makes what, Patrick?
Perfect.
See? But it's not true because practice doesn't make perfect. And there's no perfect practice, so you can't have perfect. But you can say practice makes programmed, and programs can be changed. And that's one of the things I picked up from what you just said. You said I spent 9 or however many years it was being institutionalized to such a way that I was programmed to think and speak and live this way. But I was willing to say I'll give myself just as much time to do some unprogramming.
Yeah.
Instead of it needing to be tomorrow, I'll give myself time to do the work and be patient with myself because it took this many years to get here where I am. Right. I use this analogy where I talk to people about the forest. If you walk into a forest, let's say you're not sure how far you walk in, however much time it took you to walk into it is exactly how much time it's going to take you to walk back out of it.
That's true.
But most people want to be out of it because they panic and they feel lost.
Don't let it get dark.
Give yourself
Come on. Don't let it get dark and the mosquitoes from Mississippi come out. You're done.
Yo, we got mosquitoes in the South, bro, that'll pick your behind up and take you to somewhere you ain't never been.
Pterodactyl.
Man, we literally are afraid of mosquitoes in the South. I'm just telling you right now. But I just want to say though, for real, that was a great point that you made. But I think it's a great transition too for anyone listening. We got to move on just a little bit because we want to get to some things that he's doing now. The thing that makes Patrick special is not just what he did on the field. Right. And it's exactly what we tell you all the time. You're more than what you do on the field, and you're more than what you do in the boardroom. But it just so happens that Patrick and his evolution from the 49ers being one of the greatest to ever do it, which we'll talk about that too, because I want people to know how it felt to get that jacket put on you and to get that knock. But Patrick is a philanthropist.
Yes.
He's an entrepreneur. He's an investor, a venture capitalist. Can you tell us about a few things that you're a part of, whatever you'd like to talk about, and some of those things and what they mean to you? And how did you even get into that?
Yeah, so after I retired, when I was playing, I really just stuck to football, like stuck to my job. I was like, I'm gonna put all my focus into football. But when I retired, then I will begin to explore other things. Now, looking back, I wish I would have maybe dabbled a little bit, prior to retiring. But then at the same time, it's kind of hindsight 2020. I'm like, would I have, been able to accomplish the same exact things, had I, put some of that time there? With all that being said, when I did retire, I did go from NFL and I jumped right into this startup in Silicon Valley.
Wow.
And I would tell you all, it was not the very prettiest. I oftentimes say it was like I got hit like Tyson would hit you in a dark alley in New York in his prime or whatnot. And so it really caused me to stop and really reevaluate, because it was that kind of hit to where it kind of made me, and I usually be the one doing the hitting, and it kind of made me be like, boom, and I was like, oh, okay, Lord, like this is beyond me. And when I have to use that beyond, it's in all caps, and that's when I know, like,
yelling in text.
All right, it's something working stronger. And so with that being said, I took a few years, away from, at college, just everything going on, and really just start to dive within. And I began to get to a place of where I learned you can chase things or you can attract.
That's right.
And I began to, it's this old saying, I think it's in a Buddha concept or something of the nature, but it goes something like, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a martial arts proverb.
Yeah, and that's kind of what happened to me a little bit. And yeah, so one thing kind of led to another. A friend of mine was like, "Man, I hear you've been talking." When I began to come out of my shell a little bit, my friend that was close to me said, "Hey, man, you was talking about something. I have a friend he's in this line of work. Maybe I could introduce you all, and I don't know what could come of it or whatnot." And so he did, and it was an online coaching platform called CoachTube. Wow. And it was right up the alley of what I was thinking about the whole AI world, in the sense of like, man, if I can't be there physically, because I was kind of just already, I was tired. I was like, I don't know if I can get on the plane and just be flying all back and forth.
Correct.
And I was like, there gotta be an easier way to do this. And then I started exploring the whole, like, the online coaching and different apparatuses where you can record and you can put it online and go on there and do it that nature. So yeah, so I got involved with an online coaching platform, and then from there I went from there there was a couple other little small things, but from there I went into my latest venture has been a company called, it's a water and wellness, it's a wellness water company called Nirvana Super. And you can find out more about it at philsuper.com. That's philsuper.com. And very excited about everything that's going on there. So I'm an ambassador and investor in that. And then from the entrepreneurial side, I kind of went over to the philanthropy side, where I was doing something before under the name of the Winker's Mind, in which we were doing what I call the P. Willie Fit Zones, and I actually was able to do a couple of them. I've done one in my hometown, which this weekend coming up, they are doing a little, call it Bruceton in May, and they're going to recognize me and give me a thank you for, putting the equipment in the park, and what is weightless equipment to where young kids, elderly, really all ages can go out and they can free move, because I'm a firm believer that we know with a strong body, strong mind, other good things can come about. So just providing a safe place in areas where one can do that, I think it really helps. So yeah, so I was able to do that, but now I kind of shifted that a little bit to what I call the Patrick Willis Community Fund. And what that is my nonprofit. So it's Patrick Willis Community Fund.org, and you can find out more information on there about my nonprofit. And that is really just goes into building a strong mind, strong body, and strong spirit through different variations of um, uh, whether it's writing, whether it's physical fitness, so just different things. So you all can, go in there and check it out, and more than welcome to donate if you like.
Absolutely.
Of course.
All is welcome.
Yes,
of
course.
Yeah. So
I love
that's
that.
it. Just trying to find my niche, find my way, find my way. Trying to be those things that you maybe look out and want to see everywhere else.
Yeah.
Trying to be and do those things.
That's it.
Myself.
That's
so
all right, bro.
That's where I am at this moment.
I love that. And it's been step by step with you and for you. And the beauty, you've said so many different buzzwords that I want to touch on, because you took the time. Let's go back a little bit again. You took the time to develop your inner you first, and do the work, right? So no matter what that looked like, it could have been tears, it could have been disappointment, or just trying to understand what this transition really looks like for my life. And then within that time span, you were able to pivot into your purpose, I believe, which was outside of athletics. Athletics gives credibility. Athletics gives the name, it gives the shine and the luster, right?
Gives
but the
platform.
Purpose is what will put you on platforms as well. And it will never stop. It's like something that just it's a sound that just keeps going. Yeah. So I believe that when you became a humanitarian, when you started the fund, when you started planting all these things and doing and investing in communities and for children and wellness, that was always in you.
That's what he said.
Always
That's right. Already in him.
You always had a heart for people. You always had a heart for the youth. You always had a heart for being well. Because even when life hit you, you still found a way to transition out of that and become great. Yeah. And so many people don't have that aspiration. So many people are not inspired to do that. Higher. So many people are stuck, but you never stayed stuck. And we appreciate that journey, because people will only see, some people will only see football.
They will only see it.
They will only see the legend, right? But the legendary life that you are building and constantly leading is this. It's the moments that we're talking about, how to be well, how to do this, how to plant that, how to have an organization that gives back. That is everything, because it has nothing to do with you. Yeah. It's more to do with other people. It's how you're serving your community. So thank you for serving well. And we thank you so much for creating these safe spaces for people to thrive in, and these wellness centers for people to go to, and being partners and ambassadors with the true you and what you want to become vitality wise. So we appreciate you, Patrick.
Absolutely.
Like, no joke. Thank you so much for transitioning out.
Thank you so much for that. And again, I wish I could take all the credit for myself, but I've had some great individuals around to help me navigate, because I will be honest and say that, like, man, there's so much stuff that we all want to do, but then to actually get it done is really, really hard. And it, even when you think you got good people, sometimes it can be even harder, because it gets things like, because maybe things, all the nuances that go in. I will say that it was a lot of this, again, as I said earlier, your circumstances growing up dictate a lot of times who and what we become.
Of course,
and
the trajectory
as we grow in life. And you can take you down, or it can rise you up. And for me, having, no matter what was going on at times, there were certain places that I could go to. Again, I could have that place of kind of like just freedom, even if it was just for a moment, and being able to go play on the PE grounds at school and or the park was those outlets for a moment for me. And that's all that I'm trying to give back, is for those who may be in a similar situation, and maybe if they can just get out and play a little bit in a safe environment, to where they're not having to think, that in that flight or flight mentality, that they can really just have a moment, just something just opens up, and they're like, this. But until you're in a space, sometimes it's kind of hard to get there. And then, so many different nuances. So a lot of that was because of, whether someone provided that space for me or someone put it there, and whoever that someone or them people were, like, I thank them for that. And so that's kind of where it is for me. I know sometimes that I may be the one to get the credit perhaps, but I'm always, I'll always be the first one to say, thank you, but it's so much bigger than me, or there's others who help, make this possible. And so, so that's all I just wanted to.
Wow.
So anyone who's listening that has, helped be a part of that, thank you.
That's right.
That's amazing. And I have to say this before we go. We know we want to respect your time. Know you're extremely busy. Thank you for making time. But you were just thanking people who made space for you that weren't even aware that they gave you a safe space.
Yeah.
But you intellectually were able to see what that meant for your life. And instead of just looking back on the great memory, you decided to create them.
Come on.
And I think for anyone who's listening, if you are getting what this man is putting down, this is a life lesson on how to be great. Because notice his highest aspirations started to ascend when he started to think about the safe space he can create for other people. He literally saw what was beautiful in his life. And instead of just holding it and saying, yep, it was beautiful in my life. Thank you that I got it. He's like, how can I do that for someone that might be in the same place I was, who might end up getting to the place that I was as well, so they can move forward to the place that they will get to.
Yeah.
He literally created a path for someone, a little Patrick Willis he's never going to meet, who may go on the same path, become the greatest, and will look back and be like, man, I remember this football guy. I don't know what he did on the field. I was too young, but he made a space for me.
Yeah.
And look at who I became. But speaking of safe spaces, I'm going to say this real quick. Most of y'all don't know Patrick Willis is a gamer. And I think that he would love to tell about one of his other ventures he has. Shout out HLX, because he does gaming tournaments.
What?
Where you can literally subscribe to kick Patrick Willis' butt.
No.
Because I know he ain't no good on video games because he's too good in real life.
There we go with the shade again.
Hey, no. That was a good one, Charles. I appreciate it. Two things will be, one, going back to what you had said right before the gaming was, and you all have been in the church, or from a Christianity perspective. Sure. I think about things along this line, even when I'm doing I say I want to be the bridge for those who are, coming through a similar path in whatever way that may be. But in all thought, my mindset is greater things you shall do than I've done. That's right. Meaning, like, it may not be the same exact thing, but you will go on to do like greater. Meaning, you might take what I've done and multiply it and make it even better. And so that's what when I look at the next generation, that's the thing that I'm grateful for, and that I think in my mind is like, man, all the goodness or greatness can't end right here. Somebody got to take it, what little you've done and or a lot, and make it even more. So that's the mindset when I'm, operating and doing anything that I'm doing. And then the second part of that is, Charles, to your gaming aspect, that's the only place, man, that I feel like I don't brag too much.
Oh, here it comes. But he gotta say something. Go ahead.
I don't brag about that, but when it comes to the video games, I'll be bragging my tail off, because it's the only place I feel like I can go in there and talk a little smack, and the kind of smack I wish I could talk in real life. But in real life, I'm like, no, man, in real life, I'm like, it's real. Like,
isn't that hilarious?
Wishful thinking, yeah.
But watch this. This is what makes it funny, though, Patrick.
Like,
You talking all this trash to 12-year-olds, man.
Oh, wow.
You up there playing with kids, and like, you think you better than P. Willie?
Hey, believe it. You know what? Believe it or not, that's another thing that I learned was that I look for a space that it's not so much about size. Yeah. It's not so much about that your athletic ability. But what I will say is that, man, I learned a lot of some of the things I've learned concept wise through gaming. Now, Madden just happened to be when I did learn Madden. Like I did, the whole football and the sports aspect. But like I remember playing Tetris growing up.
Yeah,
I
that's
remember
my
playing
favorite.
Wheel of Fortune, and those games
Favorite.
were games that were very instrumental in how I think about things now. When you Tetris, you only got so long before you can think about, the way you're gonna make a move or how this block is
Come
gonna land here,
on
because
now, good
you
boy.
also have to see the other block
Talking
because you got
wisdom.
to see how things are being creative. And so as a gamer, being a gamer myself, and someone who maybe sees gaming from a different view, my whole aspect of being in it is to show all the different elements, or to share all the different elements. So meaning that, like, in this new platform, which is called High Level Experiences through Hyperlux, what you'll be able to do is have those type of interactions and experiences where you might come on to my platform today, and yeah, we might get on Madden, but that could be for some of the ones who play Madden. But then we may come on the platform a month from now, and I say, hey, we are going to this right here is going to be a read night or something. So we're going to be on Twitch, and we might have the fight of your life, or we might have.
Yes, you
You
will.
got that, huh?
There's
You,
no
you didn't
mic.
catch that,
Yeah,
huh?
Bingo.
You didn't catch.
yeah.
You didn't catch it. You
We
didn't catch
will
it.
have that
Yeah. See how? So you see how? So it's different. It's different ways in which this platform is. So I'm sorry. So it's different levels to the platform that's beyond the gaming, but the gaming is different levels to gaming. But that is the one avenue that I've learned. In order to get people in to share what it is that you want to share, you got to somehow find a way to get them there. And that's the one space I learned, whether it's, yeah, primarily it maybe caters to the youth, but I think when others begin to tap in and you realize, like, wait a minute, there's different avenues that you can get in, or you can connect and share what it is the light that you were trying to share, it's possible. So yeah, so but Madden will be that first entry though. So shout out to Madden. But
Shout
yeah,
out to
I'm
Madden.
I
excited
guess.
about it.
Well, I mean, I guess. Jeez,
Yeah.
my gosh, man. Well, I'm
See
gonna
how I
take
had to
you up
twist it?
on one time, man.
See how I had to spin it a little bit? Yeah.
You did a
Yeah.
good job spinning it, bro.
Come on.
I'm really proud of you, man. You did a good job with that, brother. Well,
No, I
nonetheless, Patrick,
appreciate it,
before you
man.
go, is there any last words you want to give to anyone? It doesn't have to summarize what you said, but is there any message you want to leave for anyone who's listened this far?
Yeah, as I think about life now, being 39, I don't
39, God
know
dog.
what.
Really?
Yeah, I know, right?
Forgive him. Just keep going.
I'm not sure what happiness is to an individual, but I do know that, man, joy is a grateful thing. Meaning that happiness is temporary, joy is a long time, and so in all that you are doing, yes, man, yes, in the now. If you can build up the happiness and that true happiness, then that joy when you look back. I think joy comes when you look back on the grind, when you look back on where you started and seeing where you are, and you see a bunch of those moments that you see a bunch of happy moments, meaning that don't mean there's not some quote unquote negative things in there, or some things you may not be as great, but you're just able to be happy. I mean, you're able to have joy. So yeah, so build on those happy moments in the now, being present, so that when you look back, you can be in a place of joy, opposed to, man, that space that, as you all maybe know, it's not a good place. It's that place that you feel victimized, and you can't see, man. Everything is just cloudy and dark, and I don't wish that on anyone. However, I will say that in some form of fashion, we all have to go through our moments. Some are deeper than others, but wherever there's a will, there's a way. And I believe that. So, and that's why I love the name. I'm a very big person when it comes to names, and I love the name you all have for your podcast, Inspiring Higher, because when I think about inspiring expiring, inspired, aspiring, inspiring, and expiring.
Mm-hmm.
Some of that nature. That the aspiration is the side that's personal. Like I feel like it should begin with you. Like
That's right.
If it begins with you and it's not so much about you getting caught up in something that's outside of you, then I feel like later on when you look back, you won't have such a hard time coming back to you because, man, it's really easy to get caught in, seeing amazing stuff that other people are doing and want to do it just like them and be just like them. But you later on realize that, like, man, maybe that wasn't so much, my thing. I was doing it because that's what everybody else was doing. Like, then you have to, so really just trying to work from that place of aspiration, which means it kind of starts with you. And I think that kind of helps as you get, when you look back, you're kind of able to be able to get back to that you, to that that core you, that center you, that person that you forget when you start getting on out there.
That's incredible, man. No, I love it, man. Thank you so much for those words. And most people don't even know that the word aspire really comes from the Greek to breathe, so breathing life. So it does start with you. So I hope that listening to Patrick today really encouraged you, because it encouraged me. I know I can say it personally. I can't speak for you, but there it is. And I tell you, Patrick, where can they find you? Give those links one more time, whichever one you really want them to drive to. Where can they find out more about what you're doing or where you want them to go?
Yes, if you may and can, go to www.patrickwilliscommunityfund.org. That's www.patrickwilliscommunityfund.org, and you can find out more about the personal things I have going on, and then from there, entrepreneurial things, that will show his face. And so, go check out my nonprofit. And again, thank you all so much for having me on your Inspire Hire podcast.
Thank you, Patrick. Honor. That's all we have to say. Just honor. And we celebrate your life, and we're so grateful. And if this was your very first time, audience, seeing and witnessing Patrick's life, we know for a fact that you've been inspired. So now what are you going to do with that inspiration? If there's something you need to start, if there's a moment of time where you need to be free and take that time to transition through some difficulties, take it, because you see his life. Look at the fruit of what he's done. So thank you so much again, Patrick. And everyone, make sure that you like, share, subscribe, give a thumbs up to this episode. This was phenomenal. Thank you all so much again. And Patrick, listen, you're blessed. So just keep living in it, okay?
Sincerely, man. Grateful to be in your circle, buddy.